Welcome back folks. So in this video then I'll be constructing the subframe. The timber I'll be using is C24 construction grade timber, so it's been slow grown, it's very strong. The timbers here are also pressure treated, and the size of the timbers, it's sort of 6x2, so in other words 150mm by 50mm. And the lengths are 3.6. So I've got about 6 lengths of these timbers here to use for the joists, and I'm just going to cut them to size. I will also be treating these before, when the subframe has been installed, and I'm ready to put the the decking on there or the flooring. So I've cut a few now. I'm just laying stuff out in order that I can fix them together. So I'm just marking out 600mm spaces here, which I'm going to secure the cross members. So for this then I'm going to use an impact driver and also use these screws, which are basically they're coach screws almost, and so they're quite expensive, but the good thing about them is the fact that they really will pull in the timber tight. So these are 150mm in length, or 6 inches. Now on the front and back of these on the front and back timbers, I'm going to be doubling up the timbers. And one of the potential problems with using these screws is the fact that they have a sort of a hexagonal head which stands proud of the timber. Now the thing is, if I just use these screws and basically go straight through 2 timbers, there isn't going to be enough length of the screw to go onto the other timbers on the right hand side here. But equally, if I just do one at a time, then it means the second timber, because the screw heads stand proud, it will mean that I can't get them screwed together. So what I've decided to do, just to countersink the heads of these screws, I didn't have a countersink bit at this time, so I just used a drill bit, a wider drill bit, just to churn out a little bit of timber so I can countersink the screw heads as I'm doing here, look, and it worked very well indeed. So as you can see, I'm putting 2 of these very long screws in the ends of each timber. Now in a previous video where I was doing some joinery work and fixing timbers together, somebody did mention to me the fact that it was nice to see me using a combi drill rather than an impact driver, because they work on a building site, and impact drivers are very noisy, and they can be a little bit distracting. And prior to buying this this DeWalt set with an impact driver and also a combi drill, I'd never used an impact driver before. But I'll tell you something, the impact driver is always my go-to tool when I'm screwing anything together. Although it's actually much smaller than a combi drill, it's a hell of a lot more powerful, and when you're actually screwing in large screws such as these, it just makes life so much easier. So that is now my go-to tool for screwing anything. It is very powerful, and I used to see videos of people using these impact drivers, and they just look too small, and I thought, why are these people using these tools, these drivers? They just don't look as if they're man enough for the job. But let me tell you, they're absolutely fantastic, and I should have got one ages ago. So as we can see, we're just going to start fitting some of the cross members now. Once again, 2 of these coach screws in each end, and I will also be putting some noggins in as well. The reason, incidentally, I've spaced these cross members 600mm apart is because that will coincide with the lengths of the OSB board, which will enable me to fix it properly, and the OSB boards will form the flooring of the actual workshop or man cave, or indeed she shed. So the depth of this structure then will be 2.4 metres overall, and the width or length, whichever way you look at it, will be 3.6 metres. So before I decide to go any further with the subframe, I just wanted to get the thing square basically. So at the moment then, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm doing this freehand, I'm just going to check all of the corners. Now as we can see, that's pretty much as good as it gets. So that's one corner. Got another one here, look. So within a mil, that's fine. So with any luck, we're going to have the same over here. As I say, please accept my apologies. Whoops, trying to do this one-handed. So we've got another one over here. There we go, look, so right on the money there. Perhaps a mil out there, look, it's no big deal, is it? So yeah, so the thing's nice and square. So what I'm going to do, I just want to you got a little spot on. So I just want to brace this now, and then lift it. But whilst we're doing this, clearly you can use a big square like this to determine whether your structure is square, but there is another way of doing it as well, and I just thought I'd run that by you actually, and this appeared to be an opportune moment to do that. And it's called the 3-4-5 system. So basically what you do then, and what I've done here, I've measured 3 foot from that corner and marked it accordingly, 36 inches. I measured 4 foot here, which is 48 inches. So the way this system works is, and you know, it's proven to work if you use the adopt the Pythagoras theorem. So we've got a right angle triangle, and if I put the tape over there and line it up with this section here, so we need to be on there and on there, that should be 5. So we've got 3 foot, 4 foot, and this bit here, the diagonal, the hypotenuse, is 5 foot exactly. So you know, it don't get much better than that, does it? So we know that this structure here is square. Well, at least this section here is, and obviously we can do the same. I've already tried it, everything's square on this structure. So as I say, I just want to brace it now before I do much more, just to make sure that we maintain this completely rectangular shape. Now it's fair to say that some people may be querying why I'm using screws and not nails, and the reason is basically because I wanted to make sure that these timbers are pulled together very, very tightly indeed, and I just thought these screws would perhaps help me to achieve that more effectively. And also I tend to find that in the past when I've used nails, then I have tended to split the wood. Now, in order to secure the noggins, I'm actually going to use these TURBOGOLD screws. So they're 100 millimeters long, or 4 inches. You don't need a pilot hole for these, you don't need to drill a pilot hole, and quite frankly these are the best screws I've used. I wouldn't really use anything else. They're extremely sharp, and yeah, they're more expensive. You can get cheaper obviously, but sometimes it's about, you know, quality, and there's always a tension, isn't there, between quality and price, but at the end of the day we're talking value here. So when you consider the ease with which these can be used, the fact that very, very rarely indeed have I come across a situation whereby the heads get chewed up or these screws snap, then I just think they're absolutely fantastic. And as I say, they are my go-to choice for screwing timbers together, and especially something like this. Once again, we're using 2 screws on the end of each noggin to secure it. These ones are going straight in at the side, and I'll be screwing them in on the diagonals, as you can see in this video clip here, look. And also, if you're using screws, it's actually easier to attach the other end of the noggin rather than trying to do it with nails, you know, especially if you're not ever so experienced doing this. Right guys, so I've spent another couple of hours this evening after work just finishing off this subframe. Just spin round and let you have a look. So this is what we have so far then. So I've put some noggins, as you can see. Now another thing I'm actually going to do is, I've got about 4 concrete blocks left, so what I thought I'd do is to basically just stick them underneath these intersections here, just to you know, give some more support for the subframe. So that should be really, really sturdy. And I've also got another couple of 3.6 meter lengths, and I'm going to fix those to the front and to the back, and the total depth of the base will therefore come up to 2.4 meters. So hopefully that'll make sure that the base, you know, and the frame is extremely strong and durable. Right folks, so things are starting to look quite good now, and the next stage is to further treat the subframe using some wood preserver. Now, as I previously mentioned, the subframes are pressure treated already, but obviously once the structure goes up, there's going to be no opportunity to actually give them any further treatment. So I want to do as much as I can while the framework is accessible. So I'm using this stuff here, look, from Wigs. It's a very, very good price. It's the sort of the most recent innovation of what we used to know as creosote, but creosote, you know, has actually been banned now because it is very dangerous to the environment and to animals, etc. So this is the sort of modern equivalent, basically. And when you read the reviews on this stuff, it's absolutely fantastic, and it's also very competitively priced. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that for what you get, it's actually cheap. But the point is, it's cheap and extremely effective as well. So this stuff then, as you can see, I'm just applying it by a roller rather than a brush. Makes life a lot easier, speeds up the process considerably, and I'm actually going to put a couple of good coats on here. Once the first coat has dried, there'll be another one going on. Now this stuff here is actually, it's quite sort of water. Well, I wouldn't say it's actually watery, but it's a lot more fluid than some timber preservatives. And as you can see, it's soaking into this timber very well indeed. So here's my apprentice then, just coating the OSB boards, which is going to be the floor to the man cave. So she's coating the undersides at the moment, and my son is just working on the underside of the subframe on another day here, just helping out. And as I say, the subframe will have 2 coats of this stuff to offer it maximum protection. So although the subframe is going to be off the ground, you know, there'll be plenty of ventilation there. So really, this should last for absolute years. Thank you for watching.